So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the snooze hour. Hopefully, nobody will snooze in. We have some very exciting things happening post lunch. Let me start by introducing the first session. I'm now wondering why we didn't do this one before lunch. But moving on, let's talk about all things food and more. What would our lives be without Swiggy? I don't even want to think about it, and I think that would be true for all of India. In conversation today, we have Mr. Rohit Kapoor, who has recently taken over their food delivery business, an ISB alumni, a chartered accountant, an investor, and a mentor to young leaders in the startup world. Mr. Kapoor, besides his love for all furry things, is a keen photographer and has bicycled his way from Manali to Leh. More power to you, sir. Warm welcome.
Good afternoon. So I had a little bit of a dilemma this afternoon. I left McKinsey in 2010, and when I left McKinsey, I was there for 10 years. I made one promise to myself that I'll never make a PowerPoint slide again in my life. I was done, right? And I think I'm close to that. I would have made like 5 slides in the last 14 years, right? Out of more compulsion in some government meeting or something. Otherwise, I've sewn out that. The next thing happened, I joined Max Group, spent 7 years there, wore a suit tie every day. I have a very fine collection, sir. And then I say, I'm coming to Oberoi to speak. Now, last 4 years, I practically not worn anything except t-shirt and jeans, right? And fun trivia for the board of Max India for their photo shoot for the annual report, right? They wanted a recent picture in a suit. It took me like taking a suit out of the attic, getting myself photographed and just sending it to them. So here I am, and I'm like this. Apologies for that, right? It isn't the most appropriate dress for an Oberoi event, but you'll have to bear with me today. So I'm actually in Swiggy now close to 2 years. I run a few things in Swiggy. I run the food delivery. Simplest way to understand is that when you order food and it comes to you, that entire business I run. I run Dine Out, which was actually a business we acquired from Times about 2 years back. And I run a bunch of horizontals, which is the entire logistics. So we have about 4 lakh riders on the roads. The people you see in the orange t-shirts, that entire organization, customer service, PR, GR, bunch of the corporate functions roll up to me. But the main large business I run is the food delivery business, which is, and just to give you a sense, we are a very young company. We were born in 2014-15, thereabouts. So we are into our 10th year. We'll in fact this August be celebrating 10 years of the company. And we operate in about 700 cities in India. We do close to 80 crore plus orders a year run rating now, right? We will soon be touching about 100 crore orders a year, which is basically somebody ordering something and reaching their home. And we have people working with us, about 11 lakh people, approximately 1.1 billion people who are riders. And at any point in time, roughly 4 lakh of them are active. So any given day, 4 lakh people wake up, open the app and start working on the platform. But this is all sort of a sense of scales to understand what we do, where we are, and many of your consumers, I'm sure, or your kids are, or your families are. But the real story of Swiggy is not about food delivery or about quick commerce. We don't think of the company like that at all. In fact, our mission statement is, we are in the business of bringing unparalleled convenience to urban consumers. We are in the business of convenience. We are not in the business of delivery or in the business of delivering grocery or XYZ. These just happen to be very large use cases for delivering convenience. And let me just walk you back a little bit. Some of this I've heard from the founders and other people who were there in the company at that point in time. And of course, I've dived deep to figure out how the company came into being. And it was very interesting how everything just came from a deep sense of curiosity about the consumer, right? And in fact, when I was doing this session, I said, let's name it the Swiggy story, the consumer lens. Because that is the way this company was formed, that's the way the company was born, that is the way the company culture is and the ethos is. So I'll jog your memory back to those of you who remember 2015 period. There was no food delivery company in India actually. There was a listings business which Zomato had, right? Which is basically you can discover restaurants and food places on the app and then you order from there. And interestingly, even globally, that was the default now. And around the same period of time, Harsha and some of them started like talking to a bunch of consumers and say like, it is, and they realized that something is very broken because discovering is not equal to convenience. The fact that you've discovered is only part of the puzzle, but then you call the restaurant, the phone doesn't get picked up. You know, sometimes they get picked up, they say, okay, we'll call you back. There's so many breaks in the process. They said something had to be done and they came up with the crazy idea saying that we'll own the entire delivery piece. I think the fundamental innovation came from saying real convenience will happen when we own the entire delivery piece with ourselves. And people said, you're nuts. How can you do this? There are like a few lakh restaurants in India. It's just impossible to do this. And remember that time there was no global example. You may think that globally it existed and we are thinking of this in India. It is not true. There are 3 companies globally which are thinking the same thing at almost the same point in time. So in 2015 is where in the same year, in 3 different markets, the first trial of online food delivery started globally and simultaneously. So just something which is so ubiquitous today, something which all of us sort of see and believe, ye to hai, this is available, is just 9 years old globally. And I think that really changed everything about that one decision on really focusing on the convenience, changed the fortunes of the company. Because the scale in the industry started from that single decision. And there were 9 players who came in, like 7 of them exited, there are 2 standing right now, right? But that was one. I'll talk about 2 or 3 inflection points like this which have created large businesses for us. But I'll tell you also going to dive into sort of how we think about this on a daily basis so that it doesn't seem like this is a one aha moment which happens once in 5 years and that's all we do, because that's honestly sometimes 100 trials and the one which got lucky gets spoken about, right? So I'm equally interested in sharing the trials which fail, but the process is more important than the outcome, honestly. The second big business which is there, which is quick commerce, right? The quick commerce business, which is Instamart for us. Now this is a category which was much ridiculed 2 years back, and everybody seems to love it today. The consumers, investors, everybody seems to be talking quick commerce. But it iterated, it didn't land in the way it was, and we pioneered quick commerce in India. But we didn't start like this. Actually, it started with saying, okay, now food is reaching, people seem to be voting with their feet. This is the post-COVID situation happening. People are learning how to sort of order home. Is there more that we could do? So we started, actually first thing was connecting from Kirana stores and delivering, right? Which seems the right thing to do because there are so many Kirana stores. And globally also that model was emerging. Now, again, it went back to the consumer problem. The consumer experience was very broken. We didn't like it. Actually, internally we don't like it, we ourselves don't scale it up. So how it was broken? Simple problem. You order mango lassi, okay? And it maps you to the local Kirana store. And the local Kirana store, in the time the delivery person is reaching, there's a consumer who walks in and says, buys the mango lassi off. Now, this guy is not interested in waiting because his revenues is there, he'll take it. Okay. And there are millions such things, right? Or expiry here, right? There's expired product sitting in that shelf, right? Now starts the process of saying, okay, sir, mango lassi nahi hai, aapko rose lassi bhej dun. Now the whole purpose of convenience is defeated, because instead of now ordering and receiving something, you are having to take 3 phone calls and 4 phone calls, etc. in the between. So then we went back to the drawing board saying, it's not just in this category, we must own the delivery process. We also need to create a set of partners who will be exclusively working for us. So our inventory is always 100% mapped. So now we have 500 dark stores all over India. What is called dark stores is effectively nothing but a partner running an exclusive store for us, which is where inventory, everything is mapped on the Swiggy platform. So there cannot be a mismatch. If it is shows available, it is available, right? Or it will show as unavailable. Then something happened which was quite interesting and I think very counterintuitive. By the way, the reason the first model works in the West is because in the West, modern retail is very big. And modern retail is far more organized than the Kirana store here. So if you go to the UK modern retail will be 60-70% of the business. Places like Sainsbury or Tesco's of the world, which are very well organized. Modern retail never took off in a big way in India. In terms of percentage, modern retail is still very small and we seem to have leapfrogged completely from general trade to e-commerce and quick commerce. Right? But cutting back, I think we started seeing something very interesting. We started seeing that for some reason, whenever we were our data was showing a faster delivery, people were just buying more. So if we show 20 minutes as delivery time versus 15 minutes, people just started ordering more. So we said, okay, let's try it. Let's place a few more pods to bring density. Whether speed is not a function of the driver driving fast. That's the worst way of thinking about it. It's impossible to do it in India, given the traffic and all kinds of things. Speed is a function of density. If there's a thing which reaches you in 7 minutes or 10 minutes, you should know that it's very close to your home. Our average last mile kilometer is not more than 2 kilometers, right? But cutting back, we saw the data and we said, okay, let's put in a few pods in a few areas, increase density and reduce speed and see what happens. So we put in a bunch of stores in high density locations and the business just went rocket. The moment it started touching 10 minutes, the business just rocketed. It went like a hockey stick curve. And then the entire society debate started saying 10 minute mein kyun chahiye? Right? क्या करना है 10 मिनट में? ऐसी क्या जल्दी है? Right? Parents starting beating up their kids saying कि तुमको सब कुछ जल्दी चाहिए, सब कुछ अभी चाहिए. Right? कोई वेट नहीं कर सकते क्या? Right? But there's one thing kicks in into my frame of thinking. I never judge the consumer. I only observe the consumer. My job is not to judge the consumer, not to impose my morals on the consumer. I think if you're a marketer in the consumer business, first mistake is to judge the consumer or believe you are the consumer. Neither are we the consumer, nor our job is to judge the consumer. Our only job is to observe and be very curious. So we saw this pattern play out saying this is taking off and people seem to be wanting everything in 10 minutes, right? So then we went with the line, why is this happening? It's quite curious. So we realized and we went and spoke to a bunch of consumers saying, what's going on? They said, actually, and that is the first distinction, that the difference between, and this may be relevant for you as well in your business, there's a clear separation in discovery and purchase, right? So people are spending enormous time in discovery. They will talk to friends, they will say, अच्छा तुम कौन सा आटा खाते हो, अच्छा वो चक्की का, अच्छा उसमें रागी है क्या, अच्छा नहीं है, मैं तो ये वाला ट्राई किया था. There's a lot of social conversation, online conversation. People spend hours discovering food, discovering good food to eat, all kinds of things, fashion, right? But once they've decided, the waiting has no value add. If I have the money, I have decided I want it, then the value add of that process is zero. It's only friction. So I think that was a big thing, that once they decided, the second insight was that India is not always convenient to go out and buy things at different points in time, late night. Like we by the way, is there a camera? Okay, this is we sell alcohol on delivery in West Bengal and Odisha. It's permitted by law to do there, right? It happened during COVID. I think we have the capability to go live in any state in 7 days time, right? But it is just not allowed, right? So those are the only two places it's allowed. To Calcutta, for example, we find a lot of women actually buying online, because for women going to a liquor store and buying is not the best experience, right? And there are hundreds such friction points कि रात को आपको कहीं कुछ चाहिए 12 बजे रात को, who's gonna go out? And they started figuring out, damn, this thing comes in 7 minutes time. So now the fun anecdotes that I have is that I live in the condominium. Your delivery comes faster than me going down to the store inside the condominium and buying it, which is true at times, right? People are saying खाना बनाया था धनिया फिनिश हो गया, ऐप में ऑर्डर किया, जब तक सब्जी बन रही थी धनिया आ गया, डाल दिया, right? To now, I think we are testing everything. When the heat goes up, we are supplying air coolers in 10 minutes. Yeah, you can buy air coolers in 10 minutes. It'll come to your home in 10 minutes time, right? Akshaya Tritiya, we sold thousands of gold coins. Thousands of gold and silver coins. We ran out of stock this Akshaya Tritiya a few days back, right? Holi, we sell lakhs of pichkaris, right? So every occasion, like today on Holi, you don't need to go, its assortment is there for you. So there will be a packet entry point which says pichkari, balloon color, organic color all together. Buy it, 10 minutes में आ गया, tension over, right? Anything which is permissible within the legal limits we supply, right? And I think that prompted me again, and I'm very curious about it, saying that look, our business is not getting created in our technology forums and labs. We have solid technology teams. I think that's the core of what we do. But really, our business is created out of the changing kitchens of India. And Dilip, I spoke about it at ISH as well. I truly am very curious about what's happening in the kitchen, right? So what is happening in the kitchen? Now in India, the risk is that anything you say will sound as a gross generalization, because India is a million Indias all strung together by some common ethos and respect and culture. But at the risk of generalizing, let me point out a few trends. One is women are working more, right? It's a fundamental truth. It's a fundamental truth in urban India. It's fundamentally truth in rural India. That means the relationship with the kitchen is becoming more and more choice based than compulsion based, right? So they're choosing to go to the kitchen when they want to versus needing to go to the kitchen always, right? And there's a big difference, and there's a big range here. So the range is, let's say a housewife in Ranchi or Jhansi or Delhi saying आज मैं थक गई हूँ, आज मैं खाना नहीं बनाऊंगी, बहुत हो गया, तुम लोग को जो करना है कर लो, देख लो, आई एम डन, right? To a double income one dog couple in Bangalore, and that's a real segment now, by the way, right? Saying हम ना संडे को साथ में मिलके कुछ बनाएंगे, and that's an experience. 5 दिन किचन नहीं चलता है. I've gone to the household and spoken to consumers. The kitchen kicks in only on Sunday. They order 25 times a week, right? So the relationship of the women and the kitchens is a very interesting dynamic changing, right? The relationship of the maid and the house owner is changing. So what is the biggest issue a woman has? Didi, aaj kya banana hai? Is the most frustrating question women face. Most frustrating question. It enrages them more than their husbands at many times, right? Saying, आज क्या मैंने रोज तुमको यही बताना पड़ेगा, right? But it's a everyday question. And then you will say, अच्छा तुम पालक पनीर बना लो, पर दीदी पालक तो है नहीं, right? And somehow this act of letting the maid know what to cook is never the man's in the house for some strange reason, right? Even the man is awake, the woman is sleeping late, the man will say, अच्छा दीदी के पूछ के आ जाओ तुम, and that creates another explosion, right? But the dhania today, the tension is gone, the convenience is there. Order kar lo, aa jayega. Palak aa jayega. It takes 10 minutes. Now there's an interesting relationship of a man with the fridge at home. So a man has no right on a fridge at home. Absolutely none. You are not allowed, by the grace of the woman of the house, you may be allowed to keep ice cubes once in a while. Right? Because there will be matar, there will be gobi, which will be needed next year, will be frozen. Almonds from Kashmir, अखरोट from somewhere. कल परसों की जो दाल जो 3 दिन बाद फेंकी जाएगी, क्योंकि उस दिन फेंकने में खराब लगता है. तो it will come in a bowl, it will go back like this, and then some smell will come and people will say, अच्छा कुछ तो सड़ रहा है, तो अच्छा वो जो दाल है आप आज फेंक दो, आज तो खराब हो गई है, right? But it has to go bad before it is thrown, right? So the man has a very tenuous relationship with the fridge, right? Almost आपको आपका हक नहीं बनता उस पर, right? तो लोगों ने बड़े फ्रिज खरीदे, फिर देखा बड़े फ्रिज का कुछ नहीं है, उसमें और चीजें भर गई, right? So I think you can buy infinite fridge capacity and the infinite capability to stuff it up, right? But you don't need to today because Instamart में ice cubes आपको 10 मिनट मिल जाते हैं. We sell ice cubes by lakhs of packets. You are calling. So if the other thing is, unannounced guests in the house is a subject of marital tension in many houses. Even if best friends are coming, right? से अच्छा वो ना 4 लोग आ रहे हैं शाम को, तुमको अभी बताना था. ये हमेशा ऐसे ही होता है, right? So now you say with following adjectives attached to it, saying आज 4 लोग आ रहे हैं, मैंने इंस्टामार्ट पे ऑर्डर कर दिया है, मैंने स्विगी से खाना मंगा लिया है, सब सॉर्टेड है, कोई टेंशन नहीं है. Then you are at peace. So highly recommend this approach next time you want to have friends and peace at home at the same point in time, right? So we are in the business of changing kitchens and changing social dynamics and correct. Plate साथ में आती है. You are liberated. In fact, while that's a fun question, one of the very fast-moving things during we find occasions like Diwali, Navaratri, any festive occasion where people come home are disposables. Because people are comfortable now. अब थोड़ा डिपेंड करता है आप दिल्ली में हो या चेन्नई में, राइट? चेन्नई में ज़्यादा बिकती है, दिल्ली में थोड़ा अभी भी पेपर प्लेट में खिला दिया तो इज्जत तो थोड़ी खराब होती है. सही कि इनका कुछ लगता है मतलब ठीक नहीं चल रहा है, कपड़े अपने अच्छे पहने हैं पर हो सकता है कुछ टेंशन प्रॉब्लम चल रही है घर पे. So I think culturally cultural nuances are there. I think I'm conscious of time. The other thing we are noticing is India is truly becoming, and that's the Instagram effect on India, right? Karwa Chauth has become a celebration in South India. It is unheard of. In Bengal, ask some of the women, they don't even know the exact reason why they do it. It's fun. Everybody seems to dress up and meet each other, and it's fun. I've seen Bengali women actually do it, right? Which was never, I grew up in Calcutta, it was never the case. So India is becoming very multicultural that way. Modak used to be only a thing you know in Ganapati in Bombay, right? Aaj Bhimchand in Calcutta, Balram Malik sends Modak during Ganapati, right? During Ramzan, Halim is consumed enormously in quantity by the Hindus in Hyderabad and other places because they seem to relish it. They wait for it actually, right? So we are finding there's a great opportunity of people wanting to experience different things while not being in that location is the other big trend. So what's for the future? I think for us, while the businesses will become larger and larger hopefully, for us the curiosity will be always at the micro level. That's what we are very curious about. So we are very curious about, like I go and stand at restaurants and saying, entry point पे क्या friction आ रहा है? मैं घंटों खड़ा होकर देख सकता हूँ, चुपचाप बैठ के, कि क्या होता है इस पॉइंट पे जब लोग रेस्टोरेंट में आते हैं. What is breaking for the consumer as an experience? क्योंकि उससे एक इनॉर्मस पावर निकलता है. आज के दिन में if I take restaurants for example, there are emerging a category of restaurants which are experience led food neutral restaurants. खाना ठीक ठीक है, nothing to complain about, right? But experience is something very dramatically different. And we are seeing consumers, especially families with kids, choosing those restaurants because it's an experience, it's an outing. We are seeing kids, and so if you again observe on a table where young kids are there, you'll find kids, whatever they do at home and we find fun, when they do the same thing in the restaurant we find it socially embarrassing. कुछ चम्मच लेके कुछ करने लगेगा, टक 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 टक, typical kid behavior, right? And all of us have seen this. Now, simple act of restaurant supplying them crayons and something to just kills 90% of it. I don't wonder why don't more people don't do it, right? But my point is, I don't think our business is going to get born or get bigger by the next AI revolution. It will get more efficient, it will get more opportunities through that. But India is such a fascinating country. Indian consumers are so fascinating. The opportunities they present are so amazing. And everything which is true about India is not true about India. So for example, people say India में कोई convenience के पैसे नहीं देता. Nobody wants to pay for anything. That is not true. Indians don't want to pay for shitty service. That they won't pay 5 rupees also for. And that's a great thing, because even if you, so when Jeff Bezos was asked once, saying in 30 years of building Amazon, what's the one thing you have learned? If you have to ask you only one thing, he said customer wants things every year cheaper and faster and better. That's it. So I keep making Amazon cheaper and better and faster for all consumers every year in a dramatic way, right? So Indian consumers will reject low quality services at any price, but they are willing to pay good prices for great services, right? And I think with some pride I can say that if you travel abroad, if you experience food delivery in the US, in Europe, anywhere, you'll come back home and be thankful that a food delivery system like India exists the way it does, right? Whether it's terms of delivery, assurance, speed, right? I think we truly lead the quality of service delivery in a very complex environment, right? Our environment is extremely complex. Like I collect more weather data, we collect more weather data probably only after power companies. We have the second most users of weather data, because weather changes everything for us. If it's hot, like simple example, rain, fascinating. Rain is my tension day. Your home consumer, any time more people are home, our demand goes up. We need no marketing. Rain is my biggest marketing ROI. People staying home, they order more. Simple, right? Delivery partners go down because raining, but restaurants have more capacity because people are not walking in. They want to serve more. So it's a very complex and interesting combination of high demand, high supply at the last mile, but a diminishing supply of delivery partners. So we prepare for rains in June. My preparation started in January. I have city by city mapping of rain and conditions it does to us, including how people respond to rains. What does it mean? Let me finish with that, because that's how complex the country is and that's how interesting it is. A rain in Gurgaon is rainy day. आज चाय पकौड़े बनाओ, स्कूल बंद करो, मजे करते हैं. रेन इन बॉम्बे, छाता लो, बाहर निकलो. Very normal. People don't stop because of rain. Rain in Kochi, people don't stop. It rains every day. It's supposed to rain. So our supply doesn't go down. Interestingly, in Gurgaon with limited rain, our delivery partners go down. In heavy rain in Cochin, people go out and work, right? So we have a rain intensity understanding on the consumer, delivery partner and the restaurant side. in rain, we can send signals to say, ये वाले चीज का production बढ़ा दो, बिकेगा. And it's not just chai pakoda. There's a bunch of items which spike during rain. So we send those signals to restaurants saying, it is likely to rain tomorrow, please make more of this, it will sell. So rain, sunshine, consumers, fridges, husband-wife relationships, kids, these are my areas of interest. I think technology just happens to be the best way of delivering this. So thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to come and speak at Oberoi. It's an institution. Just as a closing, I grew up in Calcutta. My memory of Oberoi was queuing up during the ITC annual general meetings, which used to be held at Oberoi, for the lovely cake, which used to go, after you show that Oberoi annual general meeting as well, yeah. East India Hotel, correct. So, yeah, I mixed this up. East India Hotel's ka stock tha. I used to go with my dad there. My wife recently said, I want to go to Calcutta, a place where we spent the majority of our time. And I asked her, what do you really want to do? She said, first thing I want to do is I want to stay 10 days at the Oberoi. So she checks herself in, this was February. And she stayed at the Oberoi for 10 days. I think she was very peaceful. So I thank you for the hospitality and taking care of me by taking care of her. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are you open to take some questions?
Yeah, I'm happy to. No problem. You control the time. I rest everything. I'm open to. Yeah.
So, gentleman asked over here कि बर्तन कौन धोएगा, and your reply was कि हम plates include करते हैं. Now, what kind of plates are you including? And again, you know, my mind is all about sustainability all the time. So, are you using paper plates? Are your plates biodegradable? Are they compostable?
So we provide choices. We don't use anything, but there is pretty much what I have seen now is if you go on Instamart, 60-70% of supply you will see is biodegradable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good
Because
to know.
consumers are liking that. See, the simple point is it's less to do with my beliefs, but more to do with the fact that consumers are choosing that. If more people choose it, it's easier for suppliers to also create it and sell it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hi, Rohit.
Hi.
My name is Amit, and I'm a frequent user of Swiggy and Instamart. Thank you very much for making it convenient. But to the same point, the gentleman asked, "What plates are you giving?" You completely understood that it's a consumer's choice. However, don't you think it is morally important for you to make sure that your delivery partners use more sustainable stuff? And while I order a lot, the amount of scotch tape that you guys use, the cartons and the packing stuff that you use, and the amount of volume you deliver, how is it adding up to waste in India is not a joke.
Yeah.
So do you think you are responsible to actually, educating your delivery partners or your partners to use the sustainable stuff?
Yeah. No,
Because मेरे घर में दीदी मैं हूँ, मुझसे पूछा जाता है क्या खाना है, तो मेरे पास जवाब नहीं होता. Right, so I end up adding to your orders and more to the garbage that we collect in India.
Got it. So look, it is a very complex topic. So, for example, it's very clear that animal farming has more impact on global sustainability than anything. So we can go into the complexities of this, but at this point, I think we are responsible. We have to be. All of us have to be, and there's no shying away from the fact. So if you go today on Swiggy, you get a choice. And by the way, that's a bigger driver of sustainability than paper plates or otherwise. You get a choice to accept a slower delivery. It's called the eco-saver option. You would have seen it come in the last 3 months, where you can actually choose to accept it 5 minutes slower, in which case what we'll do is we'll send one rider with 2 packets. So we're saving one ride full, which actually has a higher impact. So that's, we are taking those baby steps, but just a clarification, our delivery partners don't decide anything. They just pick up the stuff and deliver. It's the restaurant partners who need to actually change. There, what I'm observing is the following. I think wherever the average order values are high, right, they're able to do it. And they're changing because the consumers are also liking it. Where the average order values are low, the costs have still not become viable. And the consumers are not paying. Like you and I will pay, but there are lakhs of consumers who will say that this extra 10 rupees I am not willing to pay at this point in time. But the good part is the cost of supply of that material is declining rapidly. I think we are at a point where you will see it actually become very, very the other good element on sustainability is happening is EV in two-wheelers is escalating very fast. So there are states now, like for example some of the southern states, where 20% of registrations of EV, of two-wheelers last month was EV, 20% of new registrations. That's a very fast ramp up. It was zero like 2 years back. So you'll see I think about 2030, almost all our fleets will be EV. It's not just altruistic, or just, it's also cheaper, right? So it makes sense that way. So it's a, look, I don't have a sort of silver bullet solution or answer to this, but are we making steps in the direction? Absolutely. Will it take time? Yes. Are we conscious of it every day?
So Rohit, you spoke about delivery partner. What are you doing to teach them about riding? I think they create chaos on the road because you promise 10 minutes, 8 minutes, and it's a task to save these guys. They're all over, wrong direction. They want to jump all the queues to deliver, but they are creating a havoc and they're wearing your label.
Correct.
So I think an EV is not a sustainable thing, sir. Right? So it's an excuse to say EV is sustainable. It's going to create more problem when battery comes to its age. But I think there's a huge responsibility you have to, make your delivery boys responsible.
Should I take the suggestion or question?
Suggestion, whatever you take it.
Okay. Thank you. But I think suggestion most welcome. As if that was a question, my answer is yes. I think in Delhi, blaming delivery boys for rough driving is a bit rich. Right? If it was Chandigarh, I will accept this with folded hands. Right? But I think it's a problem. Right? So there are 2-3 things we are doing. One is we actually are supplying, because first of all, forget about what they're doing to the chaos. I think their safety also is very important. Right? That's the first point. So we are actually giving them ISI marked helmets at 350 rupees now. We are mass procuring helmets because even that cost of 1200 rupees is a barrier for them. And they buy those cheap helmets which are actually nothing but caps, which don't save anybody. Right? Second, we are partnering with the police in about 30 cities now on road safety. Last, I just want to dispel this notion that they're delivering fast and that's why they're chaotic. They're chaotic because Indians are chaotic. We actually, our systems are not, our average speed of, and I can measure every bike ka speed every day. I have data. It's not an opinion. I can literally say, इस बंदे ने इस डिलीवरी में कितने स्पीड पे कहाँ किस सेगमेंट में गाड़ी चलाई थी, किस रोड पे से स्पीड की थी, यही पता है मेरे को. Our average speeds are about 23 kilometers per hour. That's it. By the way, your BMW you drive in Delhi, lifetime will give you 27 an hour. I had one, and when I saw it after 10 years, I was aghast. So it's complex, but I do think we have a responsibility. But it's not gonna be clean. I can't say that from next month you'll see everybody like following. We are Indians. It takes tough. It's tough to. It took a while for us to wear seat belts. Many of us don't wear seat belts in the rear seat even today. It took Cyrus's instant for people like us to notice and start doing it. But your point is accepted, bang on, work on every day, results will take time.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was a lot of bravado on stage. Thank you. Really.
Thank you so much. Thank you.